as you come to the lectern tonight to make presentation, please be sure to press the button on the right so that the red light comes on. We get a good recording of our meeting tonight, and we can also hear you better. Madam Clerk, all commissioners are present, along with our county attorney and our finance officer as well. Remind you to silence all mobile devices. If you've got telephones and other things to make a noise, please take care of that right now so that we don't have interruptions in our meeting. This brings us to item number 2 of our meeting tonight, invocation. We're very pleased to have retired Pastor Jeff Lovett with us tonight to bring our invocation. Brother Lovett, if you'll come and prepare for that. And following the invocation, we have Ray Childress girls basketball team, ages 9 to 10, to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance tonight. They'll be coming just after the prayer, okay? So let's stand together.
Where's the button? Oh, it's on. Okay, thanks. But before we actually pray, it's an honor really to be here today because this is the first, I'm assuming the first meeting this year. And it's the 250th anniversary of our nation. If you look at the year there and the year there, it's the 249th anniversary of our county. So we're pleased to be here. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this austere occasion. We know the responsibility for the well-being of the public business of our county is in the hands of these who are on our board. And we pray, Father, that knowing that they have the best interest of the county at heart, and that we all realize that we are under you, under your grace, and we are all sinners, and we all need so much to depend on you. We thank you for this time that we can acknowledge you as we begin this meeting. Bless it, we pray, and bless those who also present, that they may be able to make their voices clear as well. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Girls, you can come. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, y'all hang right there for a minute. We're going to come down and get a picture with you.
Yeah. All right, everybody say cheese. You just sorry. Say cheese, girl. Good job, good job. Good job.
All right, that brings us to item 4 on our agenda tonight, approval of the agenda. Gentlemen, we have added one consent item to the agenda. It's an addition, resolution authorizing the manager to enter into a lease agreement with our congressman's office, who has some space in our county building next door. And so we want to be able to take care of that tonight. So with that addition, unless there's any question, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve as amended.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. All right, brings us to item number 5, approval of meeting minutes. Gentlemen, tonight we have minutes from September 15, 2025, our regular meeting, October 6, 2025, our pre-agenda meeting, October 20, our 2025, our regular meeting. If there are no questions or additions to that, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 15th, 2025, regular meeting, October 6th, 2025, pre-agenda meeting, and October 20th, 2025, regular meeting as written.
Thank you, sir. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. We have several presentations tonight. First one will come from our county manager's office, foster care presentation. Now, this will be presented tonight by Judge Robert Molinax, Jr. Judge, thank you for being here. Mr. Manager, you want to make any comments?
No, just that I sincerely appreciate the board's commitment to highlighting this critical area and these children that are experiencing foster care. And Judge Molinax and I have talked, and you know, this month, and I guess this has been going on for about 8 months now, where we've tried to really illuminate a different perspective and a different lens of how that system works. And we haven't yet got to the judicial side, so I'm incredibly grateful Judge Molinax coming tonight, and also equally thankful for the board to continue to make this as a point of emphasis.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Epley, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be with you here this evening. I'm Robert Molinax. I'm the Chief District Court Judge here in Burke County, and have since the summer of 2002 had the great privilege of presiding over juvenile abuse, neglect, dependency cases here in Burke County. I appreciate the chance to discuss with you the foster care system here in Burke County, and in more broader terms, the state of our juvenile court system here in Burke County as we begin the year 2026. As of January 5th this year, there are 151 open juvenile abuse, neglect, dependency cases in Burke County involving 214 children. Now, not all of those children are in the custody of the Burke County Department of Social Services, but many of them are. Not all of those who are placed in care are placed outside of their home. Most are. Some are in relative placements, but many are in fact in foster placement. There are all sorts of players in our juvenile court system here in Burke County. You employ 3 staff attorneys in the Burke County Department of Social Services, Ms. Elise Putnam, Mr. Josh Lee, and Mr. David DiMaggio. They're all qualified and competent professionals who advocate on behalf of the Burke County Department of Social Services and provide guidance and direction to a dedicated staff of Burke County social workers. And I probably don't have to tell you this, but social work is certainly not a calling. As you know, it certainly is a calling. As you know, North Carolina is a mandatory reporting state. We are all required to report suspicions of abuse or neglect on our children here in Burke County. And as soon as that confidential report is made, within 24 to 72 hours, a CPS worker is initiating an investigation. Now, I hold juvenile court over in the annex courtroom. We now call it Annex Courtroom A over at the courthouse. And I'm in a black robe, and I've got a bailiff sitting beside me with a gun. And I can feel the resentment and anger coming off of the respondent parents who are part of this process. And I can only imagine the reception that a social worker gets when they knock on that parent's door and say, we're with the Department of Social Services, and we're here to investigate a claim that your child has been abused or neglected. I can assure you that that is not a welcome reception. Juvenile court is a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week operation. I get calls at all hours of the day and night from the department seeking a non-secure custody order. What they're seeking is my telephonic approval to take immediate custody of a child who has allegedly been abused or neglected, and the department has substantiated those claims of abuse or neglect. Those children are then placed in the custody of the Burke County Department of Social Services, and a process begins. For many children, that is their first night in foster care. Now, one of the questions that I get quite a bit from the citizen on the street is, why in the world does it take so long to establish permanence for these children? And it's true that the process from non-secure, day one, to permanence can take years. And there's several reasons for that. One is the age of the child. It's much easier to find an adoptive placement for a 15-month-old than a 15-year-old. The condition of the child, a lot of times, dictates how long it takes to find permanence for a child. Children with severe mental and physical disorders or disabilities are much harder to find permanent placement for. Our U.S. Supreme Court and North Carolina Supreme Court have declared that parents have a constitutionally protected right to parent their children. That right is not absolute, but parents can waive that right. They can waive it affirmatively by relinquishing their parental rights, and that happens more often than you might think, or by their behavior, by what they do, what they've done, and by what they've left undone. One of the purposes of juvenile court is set forth in general statute is for us to reunify children with their families. And that is a process that takes some time. It happens. And when it happens, it's a beautiful thing. But it's not something that happens overnight. As you know, federal law conditions federal funding on the department making reasonable efforts to prevent removal of children from their home, and if they are removed, to reunify them with their families. And I make that determination in court orders, but that process of reasonable efforts takes some time. Adjudicatory orders of abuse, neglect, or dependency and orders that I enter terminating a parent's parental rights are appealable. That appellate process is a process that takes months. I don't offer that to you as excuses, but as explanations to that question I get so often. Why does it take so long to establish permanence? I acknowledge that there's things that we can do better, and we'll continue to work hard to improve. I'm charged with an incredible responsibility of balancing the interests of the parents, our Constitution, and the children of Burke County. I know that you all are charged with an awesome responsibility. I and your constituents expect you to be good stewards of our money. And to the extent you can do so and comply with that mandate, please do all you can to support efforts to address mental health and substance abuse issues here at Burke County. I appreciate all that you've done to date to do that. I know that this board has been out front and proactive in addressing those issues, which are the root cause of so many of the abuse, neglect, dependency cases that come before me at the Burke County Courthouse. I know that we can never eliminate problems related to mental health and substance abuse. It's part of our human sinful nature, but I do think we can alleviate them. Now, like any good lawyer, I talked about what I wanted to talk about. Now I'm going to talk about what you want me to talk about. There are 192 juveniles currently in foster care here in Burke County. That number is 192. The Burke County Department of Social Services has licensed 16 foster homes. There are a total of 43 foster homes licensed in Burke County. So 16 licensed by DSS, 43 licensed total, 192 kids. Now, I'm not counting South Mountain. And the South Mountain Children's Home can accommodate up to 48 children. Now, it's important to note that any licensed foster home across the state can take a child from all 100 counties. So county boundaries aren't necessarily restricted, but there is a shortage of foster homes. Placement issues are a problem, and your Department of Social Services deals with those and the reality of those. It's not unheard of to have a child sleeping in an office in the Burke County Department of Social Services building. That is something that happens. If somebody tells you that's happening, they're not exaggerating. That is something that actually does happen. It's not just here in Burke County, though. I preside in juvenile court cases in Caldwell County, and I can tell you that they have similar issues. County funds, state funds, and federal funds are used to pay foster families. There are different factors that are used to determine what percentage of funds are used in each case. That's not a uniform system. Prospective foster parents begin their journey by watching a foster parent orientation video or attending an informational session. These sessions are built to explain how the child welfare system works and what foster parents are expected to do, and the types of needs children in care may have. They also give families a chance to ask questions and hear practical examples from agency staff. That orientation video is provided by the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. After orientation, families can choose whether to work with our local Department of Social Services here in Burke County or with a licensed private foster care agency. That's up to the parent. Once the agency is selected, staff work closely with the family to guide them through the remaining steps and provide support throughout the process. All foster parents in North Carolina must complete a minimum 30-hour course, which is offered over a period of several weeks and designed to prepare families for the realities of foster care through a trauma-informed lens. The training introduces participants to the child welfare system, permanency planning, the roles and responsibilities of foster parents, while also presenting foster care and adoption from multiple perspectives, including the perspectives of children, parents, foster and adoptive parents, and child welfare professionals. Throughout that course, families explore the effects of trauma, separation, and loss on children's development and behavior, with a strong focus on attachment and relationship building. The participants in the class learn practical, non-physical behavioral management strategies, the importance of maintaining connections with birth families and cultural identity, and how to support children through reunification, adoption, or other transitions. Most agencies conclude the training with a panel night during the final week, which often includes experienced foster parents as well as agency staff from multiple disciplines, such as permanency planning, child protective services, and legal staff, allowing families to ask questions and better understand how the child welfare system functions as a whole. Following completion of the training, families participate in a mutual home assessment, which includes home visits, interviews, and required background checks. This process ensures that homes meet state safety standards and allows both the family and the agency to assess readiness for foster care. With help from the agency, families complete a foster home application that is then submitted to the North Carolina Division of Social Services for review. Once approved, the family is licensed to begin fostering. Foster parent license must be renewed every 2 years. The relicensure process ensures continued compliance with state standards and confirms that families remain prepared to meet the needs of children in foster care. Those are the facts. And I will tell you editorially that I have the immense gratitude, respect, and admiration for folks who are willing to foster children. These children are coming from incredibly difficult situations. They've been exposed to things that you and I, or let me speak for myself, that I can only imagine. And to welcome them in your home is an incredible gift to these children. They are taught you do not foster with the intent of adopting. And as I said earlier, the goal of the juvenile court system is to reunify these children with their families. Well, I can only imagine how difficult that is as a foster parent to get attached to this child, and then to have me as a judge say, well, the goal of this process is to reunify these children with their parents, and their parents have done what they're supposed to do. And I'm sure that that leads to some heartbreaking consequences. But one of the great joys of being a juvenile court judge is presiding over adoption ceremonies. That is a real gift to me, and to see the joy in the adopted parents and the joy in the children's eyes is really special. I would ask that you continue to keep myself and the children of Burke County in your prayers, and I'll continue to keep you all in my prayers. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate your being with us tonight. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question. Judge, thanks for all you do. Appreciate it. Do we have any kind, I know you mentioned a video that's available on the training for foster and that kind of thing, but do we have anything that can be presented to like the churches? Because to me, I think this is a real, me personally, I think this is real, something in our county we all got to collectively do, because I know all the county and everybody's full board on our kids.
Sure.
And so I think the churches, in my opinion, from my perspective as a believer, and I think that we have to take care of the children. And so I think that's a great thing, that we might not can foster them all, but we can all do something.
Absolutely.
And I'm at that point here in our community and with everything, that we all move collectively together as one, and we can't have 200 kids walking around that are not fostered, especially if we say we're a God-fearing community. That's just me. That's hard, but I think we can all do our part in some capacity, say, hey, we're going to save our kids.
Sure. Commissioner Stroud, I'll certainly let your folks over at the Department of Social Services know that that's your request, and make sure that they do what they need to do to comply with it. Absolutely. Sure.
Other questions, comments? Again, Judge, I know I can speak to this board how much we appreciate your efforts for our kids, and we tell our DSS folks continuously how much we appreciate what they do. It's a difficult job, and you really pointed out just now the hard, I served on the DSS board for a number of years, and I guess perhaps the one thing that came to me more than anything else was concerns about folks who go into the foster work and get attached to kids, and it's then so difficult to say goodbye to that child.
I can only imagine.
So again, thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners.
All right, this brings us to Board of Commission recognition of Chris Jernigan for service for
Child
on the
protection.
Child Protection, Child Fatality Prevention Task Force. That's a hard one. And Chris has served there for many years, and we have a plaque that we want to provide Chris tonight and recognize him for his service. And I'll just make a comment or two further here. 35 years, that's almost as long as I've been alive, Chris. You've been serving on that committee, and I know, having also served on that committee just a little bit, some of the heartbreak that, as you go through some of those cases and think about, what happened, what can you do to prevent those things from happening. It's difficult, not to mention the work that you have done for years professionally as well. And so we would recognize Chris in his steadfast commitment, compassionate leadership through this time of dedication to this committee. So, Chris, come forward, and we're going to come down, and we want to present you with a plaque.
Yeah. All right, on third. Yeah. You're welcome.
Chris, I'll give you a moment before you sit down. If you'd like to make a comment, we'll certainly be glad for you to do that.
Some of these guys know that that's, you shouldn't probably do that, because I do appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Chairman, Councilman, Madam Clerk, Honorable Mr. Hall. It has been an amazing 35 years to serve with great people from this community who are heartfelt servants to try to help children and families and improve their lives. The Child Protection Team was started in 1990 by state order. Child Fatality Review Team a year later, and we were allowed to combine those together, which we did in this county. And we worked diligently to try to help with some of the cases that the judge was talking about, that we could review along with DSS and try to help bring services to children and families. And then, as you mentioned, Mr. Chairman, reviewing those child deaths was really an awesome task. We were tasked with every child under the age of 18 that died in Burke County. We would review that case to see if there were ways that we could prevent future deaths. And I'm very proud of the work that we've done over the years, and I'll mention a few things. We were one of the first agencies to ever offer free trigger locks to the community. We did that through various other agencies, but we purchased them and developed and sent them out because of some child deaths with firearms. We helped other counties establish drive to establish the graduated driver's license because of child deaths that we had through automobile accidents. We also did some car seat and seatbelt safety campaigns. We did some swimming lessons offered because of some swimming deaths. And there was just several things like that. And early on in the 90s, our community had one of the highest cases of SIDS deaths in the state. And we did some campaigns on putting babies to sleep on their back, not their stomach, and no co-sleeping with children. And we drastically reduced the number of SIDS deaths. So we were very instrumental in a lot of things, and I've been proud to be a part of that. And also on the child protection side of that group is the first group that really was talking about getting a children's advocacy center in this community. And so South Mountain was able to open that in 1997, but it was that group that was really trying to figure out a way to get that to happen. And they were awarded from the state of North Carolina a collaboration award for their efforts in the CAC. So it's an amazing group of people. I've served with lots of great folks from DSS and Sheriff's Department, Health Department, and others. I even met my best friend, Chris Clapp, through his service on that committee. So it's been good to me, and I've enjoyed it, and I greatly appreciate the honor tonight. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Chris. Right, this brings us to item number 3 in presentation. This comes from the County Manager's Office, presentation of the fiscal year 25 audit. And this is going to go down a different trail altogether here. So I know that the manager and Mr. Thompson are going to make this so exciting that it'd be the very reason we all wanted to be here tonight. So, Mr. Manager, you can take it off.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Both Mr. Thompson and I both appreciate your confidence. I do want to take a moment before we jump in and just remind the board that the North Carolina Physical Control Act, which is General Statute 159, requires that all municipalities, counties in North Carolina perform an annual audit by a third-party CPA firm that receives certain annual training. We call it Yellow Book in the industry, but they have specific continuing professional education in the world of local government audit. As a reminder also, we are now, we changed audit relationships to Thompson, Price, Scott and Adams, and the principal partner, Alan Thompson, will introduce himself in just a moment. There are certain required communications from the audit firm that he will follow for me and allow you all to ask him any question that you all would like. But based on your strategic plan, based on some of the priorities that I know the board has set from a fiduciary perspective, I wanted to take a few moments and highlight some of the achievements. This would be for the year ended June 30, 2025. So we're 6 or 7 months beyond that time frame now, and a lot of this you all have already heard, but it gives us an opportunity to summarize that. Also, I'd like to recognize and congratulate Margaret and the entire finance team for navigating this audit process. Shouldn't be taken lightly. It is, and I know Mr. Thompson will speak to that too, an incredibly complex and ever evolving. There are even at a national level regulatory standards that continue to be developed that through an agency called GASB. And at times, I think there's an argument that they just make things up so that they'll have something to do. You know, on a more practical level, I wanted to walk you through some of the financial highlights. I think that our management of fiscal resources is a component of our culture, starting with the lead of the Board of Commissioners. I know that high performance is something that we want to pursue. That's done through culture and being embedded about improvement, process improvement, and measuring, but also setting strategies and measuring performance, but because, you know, our goal is to really make meaningful movement in serving our citizens, which is really what we're all here to do. We have a commitment to communication, and really where we are at this point is this, not only are we presenting the audit report tonight for the July 1, 2024 through June 30, 2025, but in your next meeting, we'll be presenting the mid-year report for 12/31/2025, as we're now halfway through this current fiscal year. So tremendous amount of reporting. Want to make sure that, that we're all on the same page about our goals and our priorities, and that those are linked to the Board of Commissioners strategic plan. Just as we all know, the budget is more than and the audit is more than a collection of numerical data and revenue and expense. It's also a way to link strategy to movement. And that's what I've tried to do here, is just capture some of those deliverables and some of those performance deliverables that happened during this audit year. So included in some of the numbers that I'm fixing to talk about, there's also some qualitative strategies such as the first full 12 months of a fully implemented pay and classification study for our staff. It's the first year that we had 12 months of in-house EMS billing, which produced significant return. We were able to embed some strategy that reduced environmental health delay for permitting from 12 weeks to about 30 days. And at the same time, work through our FEMA public assistance disaster recovery process. So I think all of those required the resources that are represented numerically in the slides we're fixing to see. So I just think that that's important to link those resources to those strategies. One of the very important, and I would call it a sum it up data point for financial performance, is our unassigned fund balance. So this is equity, if you will. Rainy day fund is another way that some folks look at it, and it compares unassigned equity to your annual expenditures. And our target is to stay above 25%. As you can see, back in 2021 and 22, even when I arrived in Burke County in 2023, we were up over 30%. And so we've had some strategic drawdowns in an effort to fund strategies on the board's strategic plan to improve performance. This year, you'll see a pretty significant decline to about 17.9%. And I would point out that's because of the funding of the FEMA public assistance process largely for debris removal. As a reminder, a tick over $11 million impacted that data point. Our general fund had about $113.8 million in total revenue. Very pleased, and I apologize, these characteristics didn't show up, but about 53.6% comes from property tax revenue. That's down from about 56%. So we continue to do things like look for in-house EMS, for example, which diversifies our revenue portfolio, takes pressure off the property tax rate. And so looking for alternative ways to fund local government other than just property tax. Sales tax at about 20%, and restricted intergovernmental, which would be largely public health and social services, make up our top three. We saw a little bit of a decrease compared to the prior year on our property tax collection percentage, but that team, once you get, there's kind of a law of diminishing returns. Once you get, once you collect all the prior year taxes, there's not as much out there to continue to collect. So that team, John and his team, continue to really do a really good job. We saw about a 4% growth in sales tax across all articles this year. Here I've just broken it out by quarter. But even navigating through Hurricane Helene, we still saw considerable momentum in both Article 39, which was, I think, a good indicator of the local economy because it's a point of sale distribution model, as well as Article 40 and 42. Here's just taking another look at building permit performance, kind of a measure of economic activity. When you look at new single-family home permits, up from 23-24, comparable to 22-23. Most of that's happening, and we, on the eastern part of the county. And you'll see in your mid-year report, we're trending up from that, even in the current year. So that's a positive trend. Here, just continuing to look at community development as an indicator. As you all know, we have what I would call cost recoupment fees for both planning and zoning and building inspections. And so they are departments, one of our few departments that actually have a fee for service. This is part of our revenue diversification strategy. But we also like to track how closely our revenue compare year over year to the expenditures of those funds. And you can see here in the building inspections department, and really these are consolidated other than reporting purposes, but operationally on the building inspection side, revenues exceeded expenditures. On the planning and zoning side, primarily driven by staff salaries, a little bit less. Here's the growth that we were talking about in EMS billing revenue, up from 5.1. It was down just a tick from 23 to 24 as we converted to fully in-house, and there was some, the application processes with Medicaid and Medicare and some of the large insurance companies. But saw a significant growth to about $7.5 million in that 12-month period, which was a critical component of our financial performance. Transitioning over to the solid waste fund. This is net income year over year for our enterprise fund. We have two enterprise funds in Burke County. You all know that. Solid waste is the first one, water sewer is the other. And following, this is investment income. Solid waste is coming up. Investment income, another opportunity to diversify revenue to maximize return. We've seen that grow year over year. Some of that is just investment strategy, trying to make sure that we're operating with any excess cash that we may have, that we are investing in an interest-bearing account. Obviously, there's pretty strict statutory guidelines on what we can invest in. A little bit lower number, 2.1 last year, still significantly higher than 2022 at 63,000. A little bit lower than the prior year, primarily due to some of our ongoing capital projects. So we're utilizing some of that cash on hand for things like EMS and animal services and courthouse. And so we have just lower amounts of available cash to invest, but still a significant portion. For context, $2.1 million is about 2 cents on the tax rate. So it's, from a revenue equivalency perspective, that's a big part of our general fund funding stream. Also wanted to point out that we were able to leverage about 24 active grants that cumulatively equate to about $6.2 million. Very proud of the effort that we've made there. And we've advanced our capital improvement plan. EMS and animal services are just about completed. Courthouse, as you know, is completed. We funded our rolling stock and our fleet management, as well as our operational capital, such as roofs and HVACs and all of those type things. Occupancy tax is handled a little bit different in Burke County. but it's a good indicator of, how the economy is performing. Statutorily, there's a 6% excise tax that's on any type of hotel, motel, overnight stay. Again, that distribution's a bit different in Burke County, even though there was $1.3 million collected. You can see $1.28 million of that went out to partners, and that's the Town of Valdez, City of Morganton, and the TDA. So really just about a 2% administrative fee is what stays here locally. I shared to say we expected it to go up because of contractors and the hurricane, but there was substantial growth in occupancy tax. Now we'll look at solid waste, and it has a similar pattern to what we saw with investment income. As I mentioned earlier, solid waste is one of our 2 enterprise funds and historically had put additional pressure on our property tax rate, and that expenditures had exceeded revenues. We've been able to change that trend over the last couple of years, at least modestly. This year there was significant, there was an extraordinary item, it was about $1.3 million that came from right-of-way debris. So of the $2.8 million of positive net income, almost half of that was considered an extraordinary item because it came from the storm and all the debris that was collected by those contractors. But from a forecasting perspective, that still means that we operated with roughly $1 million positive surplus, and that may, that's on about a $7 or $8 million fund. So you're talking about 12 to 15%. It may sound like a positive target. I would point out that we have a significant post-closure liability. So if you look at long-term liability and the cost of closing and monitoring existing landfills, which we have 2 of them, we have an actuarial assignment for a long-term liability, as well as equipment replacement, which is very expensive. It really takes that type of intentionality to creating positive cash surpluses through user fees to make sure that that fund is financially sustainable long-term, and that we're able to safely and adequately handle the solid waste that's created. Water sewer has a similar story. As you can see, pretty consistent with 24-25, as you would imagine. The fees and rates were similar, and consumption was similar, but positive. This is on a non-GAAP cash basis, so this does not include things like depreciation and some of those non-cash expenditures. This is a modified accrual, but this is saying our water sewer fund collected $433,000 more on a cash basis than it spent. Similar to the solid waste fund, that doesn't allow you to invest into long-term deferred capital maintenance. That doesn't account for depreciation expense. And one of the things Mr. Thompson will share with you is we continually get a letter from the Local Government Commission from each year's audit that says that our capital investment into our water sewer infrastructure is not offsetting the amount of depreciation, meaning we're not investing enough back into our system, and we're limited by the revenue generation capacity of our small system that we've all talked about with roughly 2,500 users. The AIA study that we are working through with Willis Engineering is intended to help us do rate stabilization and some long-term forecasting. We're also installing some new meters, and you all may have, we started that last week, so some new water meters that are antiquated and out of date. So there's some continuing progression in trying to rectify some of those issues. But even though there looks like there was positive cash surplus, and that is a very good thing, and it's trending in the right direction, I think we still have some room to go. I mentioned $113.8 million. This is the functional allocation of that, so about 30 cents out of every dollar we spent goes to public safety. About 23 cents goes to education, and about 26 cents to human services, which is primarily public health and social services. When you look at utility costs, we're really trying to manage, and this is an illustration of trying to measure and manage costs across the organization. We've done what we like to call intelligent commissioning over the last couple of years, and that could be as simple as switching out an LED light. Trying to be purposeful about managing and measuring utility consumption and other types of cost centers. I'll hit some of the larger functional areas. You can see the total investment into public safety was about $31.7 billion. I would point out that that's about a 27% increase if you go back over 2 years to 2023, so a significant investment by this board into public safety, and we, as you know, conducted a public safety strategic plan and have seen significant performance improvement across all of those departments. Even with that growth in some of our core public safety areas, from a total investment perspective, compared to some of our peers, we are either becoming more in line or still lagging some. But I think overall, we've been very pleased and very impressed with some of our performance indicators like response time and staffing levels. So here we're looking at EMS. Transitioning to some of our risk management costs. We had a positive year as it relates to workers' compensation costs. Some of these, we are not self-insured for workers' comp or for property liability. We purchased that through the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners Risk Pool. And some of these costs, or the majority of these costs, are premium costs. Now, what I would say about that is, Burke County, like a lot of companies, both public and for-profit, saw significant risk management cost increase last year, both because of the hurricane, because of wildfires out west. There was as insurance companies and risk management entities incur those costs, that typically leads to higher premiums in the following year. So I don't think that this is relative to our claims history or our performance in workers' comp and property liability, because I think that's pretty strong, and at some point, self-insured may be the appropriate decision. But as it relates to 24-25, we spent about $527,000 in workers' comp and about $767,000 in property and liability. We are self-insured for employee wellness, and last year was the first year that we had ever conducted an employee biometrics process that gave us a real glimpse at detailed data for population health, and that'll help us, really design some strategies that helps our employee wellness fund move more towards a higher performing fund. We did see largely due to reduced administrative cost negotiations with Blue Cross, who's our third-party administrator, and with some formulary changes in our pharmacy side, about a $50,000 a month reduction in claims costs. That equates to a little over $600,000 a year. It's about 7%, and certainly in a period of rising medical inflation, that's a very positive trend, and something that we're going to continue to work on. Pharmacy continues to be about 38% of our total cost, so we think that there's still some opportunity to really move that needle down. But it was over 40, so we've seen some positive improvement. The last couple slides I have relate to our debt portfolio. As you can see, in the year that we're operating in now, we've got about $4.8 million of debt service required. That falls off in 27, largely due to the two high schools that will be paid off. And we are currently at about an 82% 10-year payout percentage, which means that 82% of our total principal will be paid off in a 10-year outlook, which is typically much shorter than the average yield curve. So compared to some of our peers, we have an incredibly strong debt position. Total outstanding is about 28.4, about 12.6 of that belongs to the county. The other 15.8 belongs to the school system. These are the two high schools that will be paid off in 2026. And so you can see here we're able to benchmark and compare ourselves to some of our neighboring counties for total par outstanding and debt per capita, and really we compare very favorably. Just a few other highlights. This is my last slide, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to answer any questions and also introduce Mr. Thompson. But other major funds that are included in our audit for ending fund balance, we have the County Public School Capital Fund, concluded the year with about $23 million in remaining fund balance. Our opioid settlement fund, which the board is very familiar with, was about 7.6. And as I mentioned earlier, the FEMA Public Assistance Fund, which is still working through that process towards obligation, is a tick over $11 million. And that's across all categories. As a reminder, Category A was 11.3, but we had Category B and a few other nebulous cost components to that full application. So happy to answer any questions. I know I moved through that quickly. And then we can invite Mr. Thompson up.
All right, thank you, Mr. Epley. Any questions for Mr. Epley on his report?
Mr. Epley, I did have a question. I noticed on that dollar bill slide that you had, general government showing at 15%. And just for our benefit and maybe the public benefit, can you just briefly explain what kind of functions are included in general government?
Sure. That would be all of our administrative departments, so the county manager, the board of commissioners, the clerk's office. Trying to think of what else is in that's, so permitting, zoning, I'm just working down through the org chart. Anything really that's not, so human services is public health and DSS. Cultural rec is essentially that library and parks and recreation. Education is the community college and Burke County Public Schools. Public safety is obviously law enforcement, EMS. Economic development is largely transportation and support for outside entities. And I'm going to use general government as the stuff that's left over. So there's some nonprofit support there. There's some dues and subscriptions that are in there. But from a department perspective, it's largely county administration.
Yeah, so that general government figure, it's just a functional accounting category used for the audit, not a single department.
That's
Yeah,
correct. Yes, sir.
yeah.
Yes, sir. I apologize.
Yeah, thank you.
I would say that these functions are, so the local government commission identifies functions as part of required audit presentations, financial statement presentation, and so they give you some guidance as to how this has to be presented. But yeah, it's a conglomeration of departments. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure everybody out there understood that that's not
Yes, sir.
just us.
Yes, sir.
Other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask the county manager to make a clarification, maybe a little better description of what an enterprise fund is and where the revenue from that
Yeah.
has to remain.
So like most things that we operate in, an enterprise fund is a statutorily defined fund by the General Assembly that is intended to be supported by user fees. So for Burke County, we have a water sewer fund, and the idea is the more that a user would consume, the more that they would pay. But those user fees would pay all of the salary costs, all of the operational costs, all of the capital costs for pipes and valves and the trucks and all of that. So it's a self-contained operational fund. Solid waste or our landfill is the other enterprise fund, but generally it is not intended to be supported through any type of tax, and the fee structure should be based on consumption and self-support.
In reference to any, you had made mention of revenue. Revenue has to stay in that fund.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Other questions? All right. We'll hear from Mr. Thompson.
So the main thing you hire us as an independent audit firm to do is issue an opinion on the financial statements as a whole. There we go. So I'm going to try to be as brief as possible and hit all my required stuff. In this, under our responsibility on the financial statements as a whole, our job is to issue an opinion on those financial statements, and we're not issuing an opinion that they're 100% absolutely correct. We're issuing an opinion that they're materially correct overall, and that our responsibility is to do that. The county's responsibility is to keep accurate records, etc., prepare the financial statements, and take responsibility for those. And that's just a national standard. And then my job also is to communicate that, any findings or other issues that we have with that. And I will discuss one item, as Brian mentioned earlier, about that. Under significant risk identified, and we identify these two risks with every audit we do, and that is management control overrides and then improper revenue recognition. We prepare tests just to make sure that all those specific two items in every audit we do are covered. We didn't find any issues here at all with that. Under significant accounting policies, The big thing that went through this year was accounting or compensated absences. And for simplicity's sake, it's basically taking, in the past, sick leave had never been put on the balance sheets in any municipality, county, school district nationwide. And so, being good accountants, the GASB board came up with a real complicated system to say a third of that, or had buckets, basically, is going to be used up, so you don't have to worry about putting that on the balance sheet. A certain amount's going to be absorbed when they retire, and they're going to put it towards their retirement, and then the other amount you got to put on the balance sheet. And that's one of those things that Brian said, somebody's making up stuff to make it more complicated, so. So that was the main thing. There is another statement coming out next year for those of you who take it home on these cold, snowy nights that we might get coming up and read through the whole report that's going to change some of the formatting next year in a fairly dramatic way. If I have a sarcasm to any of this, forgive me, but the main thing that I would love for you to focus on is that, especially in your general fund, those financial statements, the general fund itself, are not changing. And that's how you really manage the county government's funds. The enterprise funds, if you will, the balance sheets and some of the expenditures, even though they may not be non-cash items, are affected by some of these. And that's why you can have restatements of your net position in those enterprise funds as a result of some of these statements. It's not necessarily affecting how cash flow at all, but it is, somebody smarter than me is saying you should put that on the balance sheet, and you should, in the notes, you should describe that specific item. You can take that for what it's worth, but when you prepare your general fund balance or budget, it has absolutely zero impact. Financial statement disclosures. When we looked through all that, we were very happy with everything, and I probably should have said this to start with. Very fortunate to have somebody like Brian, who has an audit background. It really helps us, gives you a good feel. It's great to have somebody come in and present all the numbers, though it takes the fun away from me. And it's great to have a finance officer like Margaret, who understands and prepares everything in a very professional way, and it's very helpful to work with. So we're very grateful for that, and we do appreciate you letting us do the audit. We didn't encounter any significant difficulties in performing the audit. There were no uncorrected misstatements. There were no disagreements with management. Management did provide us with a representation letter dated December 19th. We're aware that management consulted the outside accountants, auditors, et cetera. And then under other significant items, et cetera, there was one finding, a technical error, not a cost error in the Medicaid program. And there are two gentlemen, one recognized, one, the judge talked about DSS and the wonderful job they do. Under the Medicaid program, I'll say this, going through the pandemic, and then with all the changes that occurred in that program, and then coming out of the pandemic, where they basically said, we want to go back to the way it used to be, created a significant amount of additional work on those folks. So, surprised you've only had one, because we've got what I think is a really good compliance guy, and he looks pretty hard. So, big challenge for those folks to try and revert back to pre-pandemic testing, et cetera. So, in many ways, one finding is actually a good thing. There was one FPIC, and FPIC's just acronym for Financial Performance Indicators of Concern. It's what Brian already said. I probably am sarcastic on this, but say you had 20 million in fixed assets and you have 11 million in accumulated depreciation in one of your enterprise funds, because 11 is greater than 50% of your total fixed assets. The LGC made a determination that since it's greater than 50%, then you need to respond back to them. And I think Margaret said it's on your items today to respond on how you make sure that your enterprise fund is in good shape from an infrastructure standpoint. That's the only FPIC that was used to. If you've been on the board for a long time, if you had an issue like that, you'd get a unit letter. The LGC asked us to be the one to present that, so this is quote unquote your unit letter. You respond back to the LGC through that. and there's no correspondence with LGC other than that going to them. With that, I think Brian covered the big receivable out there, which has a significant impact on your unassigned fund balance from FEMA. You know, like you, I will pray that one day they will send a check, but I wouldn't stand by the mailbox because sometimes it takes way too long to get that money. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, not just tonight, but anytime. You're welcome to give my office a call if I happen not to be there. Tell them, give me my cell number, I'll do my best to get you an answer. And thank you again for allowing us to do the audit.
All right, thank you, Mr. Thompson. Any questions from Mr. Thompson regarding the audit tonight? Appreciate the work you do for us, and thank you for being here. Gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion to accept this fiscal year 25 audit as presented.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0. All right, this brings us from audits to beautification. And we'll ask our budget and strategy analyst, Mr. Sando, to come and talk to us about community beautification. Evening.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, Chairman, Commissioners. I have a few slides on a very different topic than the last one we talked about, but I wanted to bring it to your attention. I'm here tonight just to give a quick update on the county's beautification project that we started in 2023. Wanted to give you an update as it's been a few years and wanted to just talk through how that project is going and give you some updates. This project mainly falls under focus area number 1, community advancement of your strategic plan. We really have 3 goals with this project. The first one is preserving the abundant natural resources that we have in Burke County and the built environment that we have in the more urban and town areas. The second one is public health and safety. As you know, having litter and roadside trash is a huge public health and safety issue that we continue to work on. And then lastly, providing another avenue and a method for citizens to engage with government and streamline communication between citizens, you all, the board, and staff in as many areas as possible. Today, specifically focusing on roadside litter. This project is really focused around picking up litter on the sides of the right-of-ways in roads across Burke County. We don't focus on I-40 because that's maintained by the state, but all of the other roads, we have a project in place that we're working through with a vendor called Gold Star. So the company that we've partnered with, Gold Star, they're based out of Cleveland County, and they basically perform work doing roadside litter cleanup in a variety of areas across the county that need assistance. Here's a list of some of the roads that they've worked on over the last couple of years. As you can see, it's a pretty long and extensive list. There's more roads that aren't listed on this, but I just wanted to throw up a smattering of options. I also put them on a map, so you can kind of see where some of the areas are that they're focused. Really, with this map, we utilize a few methods to identify areas that need assistance with litter cleanup. We utilize our solid waste staff who are driving around between convenience sites to identify areas, other staff, and then also citizens can call in or can report places for pickup. And so you can see the areas in orange. Those are places that citizens have called and said, hey, we need you guys to come out and help. And then the blue areas are areas that staff or Gold Star, the vendor, have identified. But you can see there's a pretty good spread. I did zoom in a little bit, but there are other areas in the county that they've also gone and collected. I wanted to show you all how easy it is to submit an area for us to go and perform this roadside pickup. You can see on the web page, this is the front page of Burke County. Right on the bottom right-hand side, it says Community Beautification. And if you click that little Community Beautification spot, it pops up with a little form that is very simple. It just says, what's your name? What is the road name or the intersection that you want us to take a look at? And then just provide a brief message. A lot of times people will put in there what kind of trash it is or how much trash it is. They'll put in that message, and then we will dispatch Gold Star in the rotation. So they have a rotation of roads that they regularly look at, and then they also go to these specially dispatched locations based on the number of requests we get. So as you get calls from citizens with questions, I would direct them to the front page of our website so that they can see this form and take advantage of it. I wanted to show you how much trash we've collected in the last calendar year. These are pounds by month over the last calendar year. You can see we're averaging about 1,500 pounds every month of trash that's picked up. So it's a very significant portion of trash. Over the course of the year, that's roughly 20 tons, which is, depending on the amount of compaction of the trash, between 1/2 and 3/4 of this dumpster filled up with trash that's not going into the woods or into the streams or into any of the other natural resources that we have. That's all I've got. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
All right, thank you, Hugh. Any questions for Hugh on this item?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Commissioner, Chairman, Hugh, thanks for all you guys do. Is there any kind of prevention stuff that we're doing? I know we got signs up, adopt highways and all that kind of stuff, and they're all sitting like this. And, you know, how do we, you know, we got all the Rotary people out there dressed up like convicts picking up trash, you know, that kind of stuff. And, you know, we got the litter getters out there getting everything, the Burke River Trails. We want the place to look good, cleaned up. So how do we enforce these things? You know, I know we got to cover our loads, going to landfills, a lot of that stuff, and but how do we get the community, you know, to? I know they don't like the trash, and how do we enforce this? That's all I'm asking. You know, we're not enforcing things. It can't be $100 fine. I want to be real. You know, I want to kind of look the best, landscaped all the way in every capacity, and real pride in it. So I'm really on this thing as far as the beautification, but we got to have some enforcement on people that are just throwing stuff out. You know, I know when we had the church over there at Stonebridge to Bethel Park, you know, I'd be out there cleaning up, and it was just constant. People just throw stuff out right there where you can clean it up. They don't care. You know, cameras, whatever. You know, that's me. You know, I don't want our Rotary people out there and our leaders. I mean, get the chain gang out there or something, but I don't want our leaders of the city out there dressed up, and, you know, it's ridiculous to me. But anyway, thank you for all you do, and, you know, we'll get it picked up.
One thing I will say is studies have shown that if there is trash somewhere, people are significantly more likely to throw more trash. And so just the act of cleaning up a road means whoever was thinking about throwing trash there may not, because they don't want to be the first one. They're happy to be the second or third one to throw trash in the pile, but if there's no trash, then it's much less likely that people are you know, throwing stuff out the window. It's more likely to be lack of covering their loads or properly securing stuff that they're hauling down the road.
You, if I may speak to that, as far as enforcement goes, if we find a bag of trash on the side of the road, we'll pick it up, take it down to the transfer station, rip through it, try to find some mail, and mail out a citation to that individual.
I know when I'm riding down the road, you know, I keep talking to the county manager about this all the time. I want some adaptive cars and stuff like that. You know, the police can pick something up, suck something up, you know, scoop a deer up, scoop a possum up, and keep on going. So, but thank you for that, you know, because you don't want the trash, it'll be laying there in the highway. It's like, somebody gonna pick that up if somebody runs over.
Other questions, comments?
Hugh, do you have any idea, maybe approximately, how many people submit places through our website? If you had to just take a wild guess.
We would love to have a lot more. When we started, we had about 10 people a month. It has dwindled significantly.
Okay, and maybe this question for you, Brian. Can you remind about what we pay Gold Star? What is that? How much that costs us?
So we deploy them as needed, so we only pay them when they're doing. There's no fixed fee, and it's a couple dollars a mile. Maybe $10 a mile, something like that. I'll get that for you, but it is not a tremendous amount of money. But it is only geared as referrals come in through the website, we send them to them, and that's how they get deployed.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
Other questions?
I do have one comment. I would like to just add that I have seen our deputies stop and take trash bags out of the back of their cars and pick up trash. And I just want to commend the sheriff's office for their efforts in helping to do that too.
I was talking about city people. I'm just picking on Chris.
Any other comment? All right, thank you very much, Hugh, for bringing that to us. Gentlemen, I entertain a motion to accept this report as presented.
Motion to accept as presented.
Thank you, sir. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. Brings us to item 7, scheduled public hearings. We have no public hearings scheduled for tonight. That'll bring us to informal public comment. I'll remind you that you have 3 minutes in public comment, and please be sure the microphone is on when you make your comments. Identify yourself and address, please. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have one speaker tonight, Ms. Christy Gupton.
Microphone.
For the reminder, I rise to respectfully request clarification and reconsideration regarding the exclusion of Burke County from the Rural Health Transformation Funds awarded to North Carolina by the Trump administration. I join our North Carolina House Rep, Hugh Blackwell, in asking for further consideration on the definition of rural being used to develop this program. Burke County clearly meets the intent and purpose of these funds, as we're a rural county according to the North Carolina Rural Centers map, rather than the map showing where the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services will distribute these rural health transformation funds. I fail to see how Wake and Buncombe counties are more rural than Burke and Caldwell. For instance, our community faces long-standing, well-documented challenges in accessing affordable care, particularly in independent primary care practices, independent pharmacies, and other areas of healthcare access. These gaps disproportionately affect the elderly, people with chronic conditions, and low-income families, precisely the populations that those rural health transformation funds and efforts are designed to support. In addition, Burke County has been deeply impacted by the opioid crisis. Like many rural communities, we have seen the devastating effects of opioid misuse on families, the workforce, and public safety. Limited access to primary care, behavioral health services, and substance use treatment has made prevention, early intervention, and recovery more difficult. Our local providers, public health officials, and community organizations have worked tirelessly with limited resources, yet the scale of crisis continues to outpace our efforts. Compounding these challenges, Burke County is still recovering from the devastation caused by Hurricane Helene. The storm damaged infrastructure, disrupted access to care, and placed additional strain on our health system that's already spread thin. Many residents are still dealing with the physical, emotional, and financial consequences of that disaster. Recovery is ongoing, and the need for coordinated, well-resourced health transformation has only grown more urgent. Given these realities, it's difficult to understand why Burke County was among the 15 counties excluded from the Rural Health Transformation Funds and that allocation. Excluding counties with significant healthcare access issues, public health crises, and disaster recovery risk exacerbating existing challenges rather than addressing them. I respectfully urge Governor Josh Stein to provide transparency and clarifications on the criteria used for county inclusion and reconsider a more appropriate definition of rural to actually include rural counties rather than the metro areas such as Wake County. Our community is resilient, but resilience alone cannot substitute for meaningful investment. Burke County deserves the opportunity to strengthen primary care, expand public health capacity, and build a more sustainable, equitable healthcare system for our residents. Thank you for your consideration and commitment to improving rural health without excluding certain counties based on what I think are arbitrary factors and don't adequately represent the healthcare challenges we face here in Burke County. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gupton.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. This brings us to item number 9, consent agenda, and I'll ask our county manager to review the consent agenda at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fairly concise consent agenda for consideration. Item 1 is from our clerk, and this is a request to remove a member of the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council that was in the seat for a student. She has graduated and will no longer meet the criteria for that seat. Item 2, also from the clerk, and also a request to remove a seat from the Library Board of Trustees. This is from the Hildebrand seat, and she has met her term limits. Finally, for consideration, item 3 from General Services is a resolution adopting our annual 2024 local water supply plan that was presented by Mr. Delahunt at your pre-agenda meeting. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
And then also item number 4 that we added.
Great point. I did not make that note. I apologize. Item 4 is consideration of approval. As you all know, last year with the creation of the 14th Congressional District, Congressman Moore requested to have a presence here in our building across the street at 200 Avery Avenue. For compliance purposes in DC, there's a lease that's required, and that will expire at the end of January before our next meeting. So that was the purpose of asking you to amend your agenda, which I appreciate. So seeking consideration of approval of that 1 year, $1 lease for Congressman Moore's office.
All right, thank you, Mr. Epley, and we don't want to kick out the congressman, so I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, sir. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. This brings us to item 10. We have several items for decision tonight. First one comes from our Sheriff's Office, resolution awarding county-issued service sidearm and badge. This will be presented by our Sheriff, Mr. Banks Heitzman, tonight. Evening, Sheriff.
Good evening. Appreciate you allowing me to be here with you. Retired Lieutenant Branch, if you'd step up with me, and wife, Dawn. I think you remember this family. They were here just last year when we retired Macho, our K9, and this is kind of bittersweet for me. Lieutenant Branch retired in October, the last day of September, and we was really hoping that he would stay longer, but he decided to retire. He began his career with the Burke County Sheriff's Office on August 2nd, 2014. He advanced through the ranks to lieutenant, the position he held until his retirement on September 29th, 2025, completing a total of 11 years and 1 month with the Burke County Sheriff's Office. Before that, he also served with the Hudson Police Department and the Valdez Police Department for 13 years and 6 months, giving him a total of 24 years and 7 months in law enforcement. Pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 2187.2A, the Burke County Sheriff's Office Burke County is authorized to donate at no cost the badge worn by the retiring law enforcement officer and to sell the service weapon that he carried at the time of his retirement for a specified price. It's customary that that's $1. So I'm asking, according to our departmental policy, North Carolina General Statute, that we award those items to Lieutenant Branch at his retirement.
All right, thank you, Sheriff. We appreciate the presentation, and we also appreciate your service to our county, and not only to Burke County, but the others that you served over your 20-plus years of service in law enforcement. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, you've heard this request from the Sheriff and the Sheriff's Office. Motion to adopt Resolution 2026-01. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adopt resolution number 2026-01. And I personally want to thank you for all your years of dedicated service.
All right, gentlemen, you've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. That is 5-0. Thank you very much. Again, thank you for your service. Sheriff, you want to get a picture?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, do. We have the weapon here. It's in a box. It's unloaded. Check that before I came over. I did not bring shells to try it out. So, yeah, we'd like to do that. You all want to come in?
Yeah, we'll do that.
And I will hand the finance director the $1.
Absolutely.
I want to thank the board for the progress I have seen in Burke County. Whenever I retired, I was at the highlight of my career. It's not that I wanted to or medically or anything like that. It was because of the supplement is the reason I made that decision, but it was sure wasn't because I wanted to leave Burke County. I've been with Burke County for a long, long time. Prior to coming to the sheriff's office, I worked Burke County EMS for a little over 8 years, and I've been with the county for a long while. I definitely want to thank the sheriff for the job that he's doing, and Mr. Epley, I definitely want to thank you, sir, for everything you've done for me and what you're doing for the county, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Mr. Chairman, could I say something also?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to thank you, Lieutenant, for your service. I'd like to thank Ms. Branch for hers too, but the spouse always serves with the soldier and the lawman. I just want everybody to know that.
Thank you. All right, thanks again. All right, now we come to the exciting subject of tax collection. So, Mr. Bridges, come on down. We'll hear the tax collection report and the tax release and refund report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the year-to-date revenue collections, for current year taxes, we budgeted $60,495,871, and we have collected $49,257,134. That is 81% of that budget amount, with a remainder to collect of $11,238,737. For discounts, we budgeted that we would give $350,000 in discounts, and we have given $346,429 in discounts. Delinquent taxes budgeted $700,000, and we have so far collected $500,487. That is 71%, with a remainder collect of $199,513. For interest and fees, we budgeted $329,000. We have collected $197,482. That is 60% of the budget amount, with a remainder collect of $131,518. For the 25-26 year-to-date levy, the the property tax levy is $55,976,122, with a collection of $46,685,495. That is 83% of the levy, with a remainder collect of $9,290,627. For motor vehicles, the levy is $5,456,857, with a collection year-to-date of $3,104,233. That's 57% of that, of the levy, with a remainder to collect of $2,352,624. For fire tax over the whole county, the levy is $6,508,290. We have collected $5,408,080. That is 83%, with a remainder collect of $1,100,210.
All right, thank you, John. Any questions for John on the tax collection report? Seeing here none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to accept the tax collection report as presented, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Stroud. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. All right, carry on with the tax release and refund report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The report amount is $37,971.16, with a rebuild amount of $11,596.10, with a net release of $26,333.10. $375.06, and a refund amount of $187. For
Right, thank you.
VTS refunds, we had none in the month of December.
Thank you, John. Any question on this report? Seeing here none, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to accept the tax release and refund report as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Barry. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. All right, this brings us to reports and comments tonight. I will start down there on the floor with Madam Margaret.
I just want to take this opportunity to thank the finance staff and the departments who assist us with getting the information together for the audit. I do hope you spend this cold weekend reading over it. It's 145 pages of exciting information that I feel you'll really enjoy. And let me know if you have questions when you're done with it. But couldn't be put together without the departments assisting and particularly the finance staff. Thanks.
Thank you, Margaret, and I hope that I do have that opportunity this weekend. We'll see how that goes for me. Mr. Attorney.
No updates from me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Stroud.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to remind everybody America 250, keep that fresh in your mind. And also, it's been a year. I'm pretty excited to be serving with all these guys. I can proudly say that, man, all the commissioners are on point. Everything's transparent, and man, what a team of people we got in place. And I'm so proud to be serving along with all these guys, Randy and Phil and Brett and Jeff. And so, man, the county's in good way, I believe, and it's just getting better, and everybody's getting on board and moving forward. And I'm proud of you guys. It's been a blessing for me to serve with you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Stroud. Mr. Burns.
I do want to acknowledge Margaret and her staff. Every year as we go through this audit, I'm in awe when I look at what you go through and the T's you cross and the I's you dot. And I just want to say thank you and please express that appreciation to your staff.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, Mr. Burns. Mr. Mander.
Nothing for me tonight, sir. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Vice Chair.
Mr. Chair, I want to say that since you and I are just about the same age, 1 month apart, I'm glad to know that I'm only about 35 years old too, with the same service as Mr. Jernigan.
All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Barrier.
Like Commissioner Stroud, it's been a year, and what an honor it's been to serve our citizens. And to speak to Mr. Jernigan a little bit, I'm on 3 other boards for the county that work with children. Department of Social Services, I'm on that advisory board, the Smart Start Board, and the Child Protection Child Fatality Prevention Team. And I think those are just so near and dear to my heart. And Chris, thank you so much for the work you've done over so many years. And to sit for 35 years and listen to the horror. This morning, we had the Child Fatality Prevention Team meeting, and it's heartbreaking sometimes to see what some of those kids go through. A lot of them, it's things that happen at birth that's medical, but some of them are painful to hear and try to figure out what to do to help our community. So, Chris, thank you for what you've done.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
No comments, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I'll have a few courtesy reminders here in just a moment, but given our weather forecast for the weekend, I want to remind our citizens to be prepared for that. I'm going to put our EMS director maybe on the spot. Maybe you have just a word of advice for folks how to prepare, maybe to help them not to overload your system, maybe unnecessarily.
We are expecting some winter weather, and it's been a while. 2019 was the last substantial snowfall that we've seen. So we are doing everything to prepare. We've got some meetings that are coming up. We're encouraging everybody, as we do in emergency management, for that 72 hours of preparedness, making sure that you've got your medication, the water, the food, all the things that you need to get through 72 hours. We hope that it doesn't come to that, but if we do see significant amounts of snow and ice, there's always that potential. So you'll see a lot of information going out about carbon monoxide poisoning and not running generators inside, and we do encourage everybody to please share that information information. Most importantly, check on your neighbors, the ones that don't have the ability to get out, that could be compromised if this snowfall does come in. Check on those and get those reported. We will be staffing extra vehicles throughout this event. The fire departments will be manned and emergency services are prepared for it, and we'll continue to have meetings to continue preparedness. I'm happy to answer any questions. The forecast is very much in flux, and I wouldn't give you any numbers to save my own life because I'm not a weatherman, but I can tell you that you guys have me here to prepare for the worst, and I've talked to the manager, and we've talked about a lot of the what-ifs, and we'll be prepared for that should it come in.
All right, thank you, James. Any questions for James tonight?
May I also just, and James pointed this out, we have a 2:45 briefing tomorrow for an incident management team that will be standing up, and certainly the county and our public information office will work to communicate all the relevant and up-to-date information we can. So I just encourage people to follow that for new information.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, James. All right, a few courtesy reminders, and I'll just mention, perhaps most of you have seen the announcement concerning our clerk, Madam Kay. She is planning to get rid of us in a few months, and I would say maybe I don't blame her, but we certainly have appreciated working with Kay and look forward to working these next few months with her, and we will be doing our best to look for replacement over these days ahead, and thank you, Kay, for your work, and we'll be saying a lot more about that later. Courtesy reminders, January 27th, our congressman will be with us at our HRC to present a check to help us with some of our renovations that we have planned over there. So Congressman Moore will be with us there, so remember that date if you can. February the 2nd, Board of Commissioners pre-agenda meeting at 3 o'clock. February the 16th, Board of Commissioners regular meeting at 6 p.m. February the 20th, Emergency Services Headquarters ribbon cutting at 2 o'clock at our new facility on Highway 18 South. It's looking really good, and we're looking forward to that ribbon cutting, so we would invite you to be there to join us at 2 on February the 20th. Again, would remind youth groups that might be interested in leading our Pledge of Allegiance on our meeting nights to let us know your availability. You can do that with the sign-up form on our website. You can talk to Madam Clerk anytime. She can assist you with that. Also, would love to have religious folks in our community come and deliver our invocation at our meetings as well. So if you can help with that, also, again, see Madam Clerk. And so we've talked about trash already tonight, and another good reminder, please don't litter and keep your loads covered, keep your trash in your truck, and take it home with you and put it in the trash can. We've talked about fostering our kids, and we also would mention fostering our pets at our Animal Services Center. Remind you that we can use your help there. All right, Madam Clerk, that brings us to vacancy announcements. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We have the following opportunities for citizens to be engaged in county boards and committees: the Adult Care and Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee, Burke County Public Health Advisory Board, Hickory Regional Planning Commission, Drexel Planning Board, ETJ members and alternate, Partners Health Management Human Rights Committee, Council on Aging, Library Board of Trustees, must be a Hildebrand resident, Opioid Advisory Committee for an educator, employer, and stakeholder with diversity, Local Emergency Planning Committee, Burke Senior Center Advisory Council.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. As you can see, we've got lots of opportunity for involvement in our community on these various boards and commissions. I would invite you to consider helping with one of those or more if you can. So please do that. And with that, gentlemen, I will entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting tonight.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. All those in favor, signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0, Madam Clerk. Thank you for being here. Have a good night. And be careful as the weekend approaches. Make your plans.